Hello and welcome to the introduction video for Rubber Band Trader. My name is Fernando de Zayas and I will be the narrator for this video. To start, let's take a look through the diagrams to have an overview of what we're going to be looking at. Rubber Band Trader is composed of 3 algorithms and the code to glue them together, switch between them, and determine whether they shall be used to generate a trade or not. These are the external variables for each of the algorithms and Rubber Band Trader itself, which can be optimized through MetaTrader. These are the internal variables that are used to handle and store some of the internal logic, and these are the functions to both use the algorithms and the algorithms themselves, with onTick essentially running everything after onInit. Now, the sequence diagram has a portion for each of the algorithms. They are head and shoulders, double top and double bottom, and moving average. The head and shoulders portion you can see here. Unfortunately, this does not use any functions after it is called, so instead of just leaving all these boxes blank, I put in text to describe what actually happens in terms of flags and variables. There is quite a bit, because there's a condition. It has to check whether there's a positive trend or negative trend, and depending on which trend it is, the logic changes. For double top and double bottom, you can see the logic here, which just looks for the double top and double bottom pattern and makes trades based off of that. Further down, we have the moving average strategy, which goes to here, and you can still see the head and shoulders algorithm going all the way past all of that. And then we have the lot size as part of the actual Rubber Band Trader. And here we have the flags to check which of the strategies are being used, and if they are, to make an order. And then based on the lot size, complete the order and return back. With the state chart diagram, again we have 3 separations. In here we have the head and shoulders. In here we have the strategy on the moving average, and in here we have the double top and double bottom. The moving average and double top and double bottom look simpler when you just look at how many states there are, but they do have more code in each part, as seen here and here. While head and shoulders has a lot more states, it's because there aren't any function calls and it's pretty much working off of pure variable logic. Pure variable and logical branches. Further below we have the variables and the history test that shows a pretty good profit based off of the input variables set here. The forward test is at a bit of a loss since, well, in most cases the forward test is based on a different time period, so since it was not optimized, it is possible to get a loss. Now let's look at the actual code. Sorry about that. Okay, now we are in the head and shoulders program, or expert advisor. Up here we have 2 comments just to detail which of the algorithms you want to use. Double top and double bottom and strategy on moving average are linked to the same one since they both make a profit. Head and Shoulders is linked to a different one since most of the time it does not return a profit. Here we separated the external variables by which of the expert advisors is using them. Here we have the internal variables that are being used by the algorithms, and now we begin with an overview of each of the sections. For the moving average algorithm, it's pretty much looking for well, to start, it grabs a time frame, and if it is not an odd time frame, it subtracts 1 and turns it into an odd time frame. It gets the middle of that and turns that into the peak, and then it's looking for the left half and the right half of the peak. And then it's just calculating each half, the left half and the right half, whether it is in a positive trend or in a negative trend. And it keeps summing that up to the current value. Then this condition is if it is in a positive trend, and this condition is if it is a negative trend. Else it returns 0. And for the actual orders, they are placed further at the bottom over here. Okay, let's go back up to the top and move on to double top and double bottom. Here, the pattern is to search for 2 peaks, either in the positive direction or the negative direction, depending on the current trend. Obviously, double top is looking for 2 peaks in the positive, double bottom is looking for 2 peaks in the negative. These are the variables used to store what it's looking for. And here it's looking for the initial top, the second top. Here's the shift for each of the tops. And here's the minimum, where there needs to be a certain minimum below those tops for it to still apply as a double top pattern. Then it grabs the closed and open price and it calculates a bit further up afterwards. This section does the same as above, but on the negative side. And here it checks, based on the variables used earlier, whether it should make a trade or not. This code has been commented out because the actual orders are opened at the bottom, as I have shown earlier. And now it is just returning -1 if it should buy short, or 1 if it should buy long. And now we move on to the head and shoulders pattern. In this pattern, first it has to determine, well, no. This pattern is a bit difficult because I had to do the logic backwards. So we have to start from the bottom in this case. It keeps iterating the current period. If it is the same as, when it becomes the same as an amount generated by the optimization at the start, it sets the variables it's using to 0. It gets the current moving average and it compares it to a moving average determined when this program was initialized. Then determines whether it's a negative trend or positive trend based off of that. If it's equal, it decrements the current period and checks again the next tick. Now it starts going into one of these branches. If a positive trend is detected, it goes here. If it's a negative trend, it goes in here. So let's start with positive trend, since it's easier to keep track of without an actual picture to look at. In the first case, this variable is set, and then the next time it goes through, oh, right. This is all in a loop that runs as many times as the history range optimization input is set to. So the first time it always goes down here to get the trend, and then it starts going into either of the branches. First time it always just sets the initial variable you're using, first high or first low, and then in each of these branches it's comparing the current first high with the price, the closing price at that point in time. Obviously, as a high, you want it to be as high as possible, so if it's less than the price at the current time, it becomes the price at that time, and if not, then that means the price is going down, so you set the first low as the price, as that price, and then you do the same, except you're looking for the lowest possible value. If first low is greater than the price at any point, then it becomes the price at that point, all the way up until it starts reversing. See the pattern? All of this is pretty much repeated up here, with the exception of after a third high is detected, if the first low is greater than the second low, that means the second... Right, I should explain this with a visual, but... So, the head and shoulders pattern is looking for three peaks. A medium to small peak, a large peak, and another medium to small peak. Every peak is a high, every low between the peaks is called a low. And when gone in the negative direction, the lows are the peaks and the highs are the valleys. So when the first low is greater than the second low, that is considered a failed trend reversal, so it is still a positive trend and returns at 1. Else it keeps going up until the third high reverses, at which point we say it is a positive head and shoulders pattern, and we return a -1. The same thing happens in the negative trends. The only difference is you start with first low, since that since the entire graph is inverted. The checks are the same for the failed reversal and the trend reversal when a pattern is confirmed. Alright. This condition is just to confirm that it is a head and shoulders pattern in appearance, in the sense that the middle peak or the middle valley must be the greatest of all of them. So the second high must be greater than third high and first high, else it is not. If the second high is less than either of the other peaks, the first high or the third high, then it's just a 1. It's not a head and shoulders pattern. However, if it's greater than both of them, then yes, it is a head and shoulders pattern. The same applies in the negative side, where the second low must be less than both first low and third low. Right? In this case, we are adding a lot when finished with losing order. That's pretty much the point of this function, to calculate the lot size. This is the initialization formula where you get the initial moving average that I set earlier, that I mentioned earlier in the head and shoulders pattern. And now we get into the on tick. This is just refreshing the prices for head and shoulders. Here we're calculating the up and down possibilities based on what each algorithm returns. Strategy on MA, double top and double bottom, and head and shoulders. Now we do shifts. We get the max and min for each of these. And we open the orders based off of what we're calculating. Later on, we also open orders based off of which of the algorithms are being used, as well as here. This section is for head and shoulders, this section is for double top and double bottom, and strategy on the moving average. that's about it for an introduction to this expert advisor. Please look for the specific videos on each of the algorithms if you want more details on how each of them work. And thank you for your time.